Good morning, everybody. Welcome to IT Live. I'm Tex Homer, joined by Coach Dub, Eric Nahlin. We're going to talk about six players that, if they take that jump, Texas's national championship hopes rise further. First, head over to Inside Texas. Right now, we have a flash sale where you can join for one single dollar, then 50% off your first year. All right, gentlemen. Now, this is not going to be Arch Manning, right? These are these are players that are kind of like right there on that tier. And if they do break out, it means great things for us. Let's start with a wide receiver, Eric. And who is that wide receiver? One of your favorites for a lot of reasons.
Well, of course, it could be none other than Ryan Wingo. I was a little bit early on him last year, and hopefully he makes me right. This has happened a lot in my career where I get super excited about the traits and maybe don't quite account for where they actually are in their development because the traits are so obviously there to me. The work ethic is obviously there. We've always talked about how good of a culture program guy Ryan Wingo is. But if he takes the next step, it's going to make everybody in the whole offense so much more dangerous. It's going to help the run game. They've already got Cam Coleman doing his part on the other side, and we feel great about that, him becoming a more well-rounded wide receiver. Not that sort of – it wasn't his fault, but he was kind of a one-trick pony at Auburn. He's going to be more well-rounded. But if Ryan Wingo is doing the same thing on the other side, then the run game gets that more dangerous. The space opens up for tight end. The space opens up underneath further for the running backs. We know that Ryan comes into the season with a very high floor as a perimeter weapon, which is, there's tons of value to that. Some teams in college football simply can't defend the perimeter. They don't have the horses to do it. So that's going to open up the offense by itself. But if he's becoming more of a mid-range threat, more consistent with his hands, the offense is just going to hit the next level. And we don't even know what the offensive level is going to be yet because the run game's improved and Cam Coleman's there. And we don't know what Arch's improvement's going to show. But Wingo's a massive X factor because he is a first-round wide receiver talent.
Yeah, he is. And then can we just unlock it downfield? And I've even said with Ian, I'm like, look, Ryan taking the next step is wonderful, and it's great. If that happens, that's awesome. But even with all these threats, like if Ryan just stays really deadly on the perimeter, I think we can still make a lot of this work. And you mentioned blocking. He'll do that for you. That's a huge factor. But you also mentioned a ton of intangibles here. Why does that matter?
Well, the work ethic is there. It gives me confidence that he is going to maximize. I always knew Vernon Broughton was going to maximize. It was just taking him longer to get there because I knew the day after he moved into school and everybody's just kind of milling about. He was hitting leg day in the gym. When you factor for that, it emboldens you to say that this guy's going to be really good, even if some are still down on him. So I'm not too worried about that. I know the work ethic and drive are there. I think the thing that does concern me that I didn't notice probably until last year is he is a bit more straight line. I'm not saying stiff. Stiff's not quite the right word, but he's not as, when you watch him run side by side at Cam Coleman, he's not quite as loose in that regard. And that does matter when it comes to adjusting for the ball. It matters when breaking off your route. But he's still.
It's not fair to compare him to Cam. That's like Cam's super
I know. Hey, but I'm saying he's a first round draft pick. I said I compared him to Romo Dunze. So I gotta. You always have to adjust your evaluation when you see something that doesn't quite line up with what you suspected. But I think he can. Even if he can just be a horizontal and vertical weapon. The guys out there running right angles, you'll be perfectly fine. Like DK Metcalf, he can be a more vertical weapon than people realize. They had to get away from play action passing last year because no parts of play action passing were working last year, other than maybe he could get open deep. We saw him get missed a couple times. That's not his problem. His problem is not tracking the ball over his shoulder, running in a straight line. I think that's going to be evident this year.
And then one thing you and I agree on, Eric, and a lot of people so you say, like everyone else, those drops frustrated me. Drops aren't something that can usually be overcome unless the player is really talented and can also create a chance to make up for them. It drives me nuts when I hear, it's just a pet peeve, get on the jugs machine.
Yeah.
Jugs machines are stupid simulations.
Yeah.
They don't improve your catching, and they're not realistic. Unless you're running curls, that's all a jug is going to do. Jugs machines don't solve that. Catching generally stays pretty consistent in drop rate. So what you do is you have to alter. Maybe the drops were true unluck. Like if they're not lucky, maybe you can go to the upside of that. Not always. But the biggest thing here, create chances to make up for them. So if you have 2 drops that game, but 3 touchdowns, guess what? You're forgiven.
Right.
And so that's kind of the factor. But you don't necessarily become great with your hands in a season generally.
Yeah, every receiver is different with strengths and weaknesses. I always thought Xavier Worthy was much more comfortable coming back to the ball and catching it almost in a jugs machine position, straight hands up,
Mhm.
And not so great tracking the ball over his shoulders. The jugs machines are, all you can do is really work on quick hands. Showing your hands real late is what you want to do.
Yep.
It's just not nearly as functional as people. Is he on the jugs machine? We get that a lot.
Yep.
Well, first of all, yeah, he is, but it doesn't really. And as you can see, that doesn't really prove your point, does it? About the jugs, the guy that comments about it. So,
Yep.
he's a hard worker. I'm not worried about him being a dangerous threat, but I really want to see him for himself and for the team become a more well-rounded receiver.
Coach, what sticks out to you about Ryan and his progress?
I think the biggest thing for me with Ryan is just how he's used, right? Like if he's not your typical, guy that runs all the other routes, the in-breaking routes and stuff like that, do what you did with him last year. Now you got Cam Coleman on the outside that can help. So now you can do that even more often with Wingo. Look, that translates to the NFL. NFL has a lot of college-type offenses now, right? I know I don't want to compare him to Debo, but if you look what Debo Samuel did, kind of like it, for the 49, he lined up in the backfield. He moved around. He got your jet sweeps, bubble screens. Like that's who he reminds me of, kind of just a bigger Debo Samuel to me. But you can use him all kind of ways. And so I think don't try to make him something he's not. Don't try to make him some pure receiver, right? Let him be an athlete out there and just get the ball in his hands and let him do what he does. I think that'll help him ascend to what he is, a first-round receiver. I think his first-round talent, you just got to use him the right way. And you don't have to force him to be in a role that he's not comfortable with.
Yeah, go watch it. Everybody should go watch that Chris Jackson tweet of the highlights. Okay, yeah, there's nothing prettier in sports right now than watching him run with the ball in his hands.
I think Coach made a great point, is that we can get so desperate to turn him into that like high skill downfield receiver that we forsake what he can offer, which is incredible perimeter ability, incredible size speed combination. So you do want to improve that, but you don't want to force him into something that actually forces him into his weaknesses and then limits his strengths. But I do expect improvement there. I don't think we're going to turn him into a super skilled receiver, but he can definitely catch balls downfield. There's no question there.
Definitely.
A lot of those drops were at critical moments in the game. Yeah, but at critical moments,
I've never seen a fan that didn't think it was a critical
So
moment.
I was going to say, the problem with critical moments is that's when the quarterback's forcing balls. That's when DBs know the situation and know the ball is going to him. So I do agree, critical moments, but those critical moments have a ton of factors that actually make drops more likely or PBUs more likely.
Fans need to also have some context. I remember that ball in the Citrus Bowl where the guy went as violently as you possibly can right at the catch point as the ball arrived. And yeah, you'd like for him to hold on to the ball. I'm not sure many guys are going to hold on to the ball. And people are, oh, he just dropped it. No, he did not drop it. It was a freaking pass breakup. Amazing play by the DB.
Yeah, there's that fact. And then half the time, Arch just plumb miss him. So there was definitely like, if I'm Ryan Wingo and I'm running, I'm paranoid that ball's going to my feet. So like I'm hyper aware of, and that can mess me up too. So their connection was one of the strangest I've seen between two good players. They could not figure each other out. That's the next step.
Both have to get better.
Yeah. And then that's what we need to Wingo consistency, right? In camps.
Yeah.
He's had to miss camps for various reasons. So I would just like to see him solid, steady in fall camp, able to get those reps. I think that's important. All right. We mentioned two of the legends, Jahdae Barron, T'Vondre Sweat, thinking he could have a final big season here and really break out.
Or at some point. I mean, if it's not this year, I still think it's coming. I think it'll be the next year. He as long as he shows some improvement this year, it's coming at some point. It took 5 years for T'Vondre for various reasons. Jahdae Barron was a 5-year player that people weren't nearly as excited about those two coming back as they should have been. I was shooting Kalashnikovs in the air celebrating when those guys returned. Because I knew the talent was there. You could see the talent. It doesn't just because they haven't done it yet doesn't mean they can't do it. Fans think these guys are finished products way too early in their career.
They're college players.
Anybody that was wrong about Christian Jones, which is 99.9% of the internet, should probably have some self-awareness that, hey, man, maybe this guy might get better. It drives me crazy.
I was wrong on Christian Jones, and I was suspicious of Jahdae Barron because Eric didn't give me intel that Jahdae was injured in this one game. So I just was like, this guy is slow as hell. What are we doing? Turns out to be one of the fastest DBs we've seen.
Facts.
But yeah, Eric would always like nudge me of like, no, man, trust me. And then finally it was like he was hurt the whole time. I was like, wonderful. All right. So this next part, I could have written this piece myself right here. Lance Jackson, think he's a huge X factor. You point out that everyone's keyed in on Colin Simmons, but that pairing is what really unlocks this whole thing.
Right, and he's got to play 4-eye well, and he's got to look like a defensive. He got recruited to look like a giant guy on the edge, get after the quarterback, but now he's got to do some of the dirty work that we see the defensive linemen at Georgia do. He's got to kind of grow into what the 49ers have used a lot when that 4-eye, an interior longer guy that's quasi D tackle, quasi defensive end. The Niners just took Michael Williams. Michael Williams' production didn't jump off the page. Of course, if you watch him, he returned from injury against Texas when they came to Austin and looked good. But the production isn't as explosive as fans want, and I'm trying to brace them for Lance Jackson. Might not have 8, 9, 10 sacks this year, but the tape's not going to lie. Come here and watch Deep Dive in the middle of the week to break down all 22 and see that he's actually playing at a higher level than probably the stat watchers will understand. So I'm trying to create the understanding that he might not have a huge production leap this year as far as sacks go, but the ranking, the PFF ratings, and all that, your eyeballs, if you're watching him play a very tough position at 4-eye, are probably going to show a very good player, and the scouts, I think, are going to notice that. I expect him to do enough to where everybody's talking about him as a 3-year player by the end of the season. Scouts already know about him because scouts are going by to see the last wave of pro players, and they're like, well, who the hell is this guy that's 6'5", 275? You talk to a coach about him, the coaches are going to do nothing but rave about him. You talk to Torrey Becton about him, he's going to do the same. So he's on the radar of the scouts, but they want to see the tape to match up to what he looks like. They're going to realize that he looks like Tarzan, but also plays like Tarzan.
And they knew his older brother,
Correct.
So that thing too. So you had that factor. And what Georgia said, Kirby in one of his clinics says, you earn the right to rush the passer. What does that mean? On first and second down, you have to do dirty work. You're in 4-eye, you're stopping the run, you're battling tackles and guards. Then on third down,
you got to be selfless.
Yep. And then on third down, then we can put you outside. Then you can get after it. So you might not see the production on early downs. If they do their job on early downs, though, that'll start to unlock him. If he's able to beat Colin Simmons in a foot race to the quarterback, which could also be. I imagine a lot of sacks will be Colin Simmons makes contact and then Lance Jackson a second after makes contact. But I'm super excited about him, man. This is one of my favorite players as a recruit that probably in the last 5 years.
Definitely. I think I can remember a time when people were complaining about playing a 4-eye position. To Coin Graham, they didn't want to play that in Todd Orlando's system, right? Now, not understanding the versatility of the NFL, like you playing a 4-eye kind of boosted your draft status, right? It showed that you can line up in multiple ways, not just a pure edge, and so not just that interior guy. You can kind of set the edge of the 4-eye and play against the run and do multiple things. So I think that's kind of set the wave of the new trend of playing the 4-eye. And then Lance Jackson's one of those kids that, well, I don't even want to call him a kid anymore, but that can really take over that position and show you what it really looks like. I think he'll set the stage of what a 4-eye looks like beyond. Like he's going to be everybody's going to try to compare him. Everybody's going to compare to Lance Jackson going forward because he's going to set. I think he's going to set records as a 4-eye. I think he'll have more sacks as a 4-eye than most people because he has that ability.
It's possible. I was surprised that he's like already about 15 pounds bigger than Michael Williams.
Yeah.
That's he's definitely. I've kind of compared him to a taller Solomon Thomas. Solomon Thomas played defensive end in high school and was rated very highly. He was a 5-star. Didn't have Lance's length, and I don't think he had some other things Lance had too. And Solomon went number 3 to those 49ers. I didn't like that pick, but he has that. If Solomon Thomas was longer and probably more athletic, you get Lance Jackson. And Solomon Thomas went 3 overall. What can this guy become?
Yeah, one of the first things when we knew we got Muschamp, me and Ian were like, well, then he's going to have to get considerably bigger. And he did that too. So mental check there. Hopefully it's not just a pure Chick-fil-A, but he was able to gain the weight.
I mean, even if it is Chick-fil-A, there's at least some returns on that.
The muscle was already there. He just needs the weight at the end. What do they call it for cows? Like your finishing weight? That's just like your end weight.
He is, they're trying, and they are trying to get him high for, right now he's pretty much going to be what he's going to be this season. He put on some weight. We know he's going to lose some in August, but the goal was to have him about 275, 280 for the season.
And the ecosystem, of course, having Colin Simmons helps, but you also have this range of backups behind you that can spell you and keep you ready to go. And Zena, Colton, and Richard. So the whole ecosystem for Lance Jackson looks good. positionally in the right spot, good tag team partner on the other side, and then you have depth that can help you out too. And then a new Muschamp defense that likes to use those guys in cool ways. So everything's looking up for Lance Jackson. All right, who's next? Derek Williams. Man, there was one play he made versus OU. What was it, 2 years ago? He came off the perch and just smacked the hell out of somebody. It's one of my favorite plays I've seen a Texas player do. Then he got hurt, but he was showing some real ability there prior to that injury. How's the return looking, though?
Yep, and he showed it his freshman year too. That it's just the all-out range and speed is obvious. It's some of these nicknames these guys get don't fit, but I felt the Raptor, other than maybe I think Raptors have short arms, I think the Raptor fits Derek Williams pretty good. Yeah, we'll see if it still fits him. We haven't heard about him necessarily being as athletic as he was before, but we haven't heard that he's really lost a step either. To me, it's going to come down to what I detail here is just how fast does he process. That's a huge part of playing safety. You've got some guys that, guys that played safety in the NFL effectively that ran like a 4.55, 4.6. I mean, you can do it. He's definitely going to be well below that. It's just processing speed. And I feel good about it. Honestly, he's been basically since he came back, he was locked in as a starter. I know some people still think there's some competition back there. There's no competition. They basically treated him like a portal player to get back. And having Gideon there, there's a lot of trust between the two there. Gideon knows what he is, what he's going to be. Gideon had all the access to any practice footage he needed from last year to see exactly how he's moving. There are no concerns about Derek Williams behind the scenes. I've not picked up on any so far. And if he can come back and look like the athlete that he was against OU while processing as an upperclassman, then it raises the ceiling for the defense. Somebody called him last week, said he could be a mid-rounder after this year. And, based on where he was on the laying on the carpet in Dallas 2 years ago, we'll take a mid-rounder upside right now. Now, hopefully he would come back and try to live up to that top first round, maybe second round draft pick. But if he's playing like a mid-rounder this season, we'll take that paired with Jelani McDonald.
Yeah, for sure. And he's had more years to get smarter. Safety's an experienced position. That's a big factor. And also safeties, they have depth. So the depth actually helps them see and react better too. So they just have a physical advantage there as well. So,
and he can play either safety spot. He can play, I know it's more likely that he'll play in the boundary with Jelani at field. But they can mix and match with no problem. They have sort of similar strengths. One guy's strength goes a little bit more in that direction. Derek is actually a little more physical than Jelani, which is why you like him in the boundary. And Jelani might have a little bit more range than Derek, and which is why you like him in the field. But both are physical and both have range.
Yeah. And that's good to say because Jelani's physical. If you see him fire through the B gap on the all-22, he's like a missile. Sometimes he misses, but if he connects, he's not a scared player. So that's good to hear about Derek.
I was a little surprised that somebody told me that Derek was more physical because Jelani, they brought in Jelani to play linebacker originally, and his dad played linebacker. So, but Derek's from Southern Louisiana.
Yeah,
I know people worry about Derek, as far as injury and movement. But people don't understand, the workouts they do, it's a lot of things you do in football. It's like a lot of football movements in the workout with Becton. So if he can make it through the workouts, he doesn't have any problems worried about injury or anything like that. I don't see a problem with him being on the field, right? Like you said, he's in the film room, but everything else, I think his body will match his mind. I don't think it'll be a problem. I think he'll be back to what he was, right? Because he wouldn't be able to make it through the workouts if I was worried about him. So I'm not worried about him whatsoever. I think you get the old Derek Williams back easy.
Yeah, and remember, he came back a little earlier last year than we expected. He came back during the summer rather than August, which to me is a good sign, even for this day, that he was returned even ahead of schedule. And then, last season didn't go how he wanted, but the train is back on the track. Now it's up to him to play up to and live up to the faith that the coaches are showing in him.
Yeah, and we want that solid to good you have here. We get into this polar side of where it's either you're elite or trash. But solidity at safety is what matters. And I think he's going to provide more than solidity. So that's a big factor.
Yeah, fans have it. If they're either great, they'll take a good player and make them great, or they'll take an average player and make them terrible. And
Paul talks about the language crime of the term mid has turned into you suck. And it's like the whole point of mid is that you're mid. You're in the middle. But somehow, if you call something mid, it's actually that you suck. But it's
The same thing happened with Jag. You're just a guy. Well, a lot of the, there's a lot of just a guys on the roster. Well, that's what we talk about in the recruiting classes. Like, a lot of them are fungible.
Yep.
But Jag means, much worse.
Yeah, Jag just means he's an average guy, but it means you suck now. Yeah, it's just that we're bad about that. Everything goes to extremes. All right, Nick Townsend. What's going on here, man?
Nick.
Well, I think he's a player that's going to get better throughout the season. My expectations for him in November are a lot different than what they are in September. We haven't heard a ton about, anything that would really foreshadow a breakout, but he's so talented and has so much want to that I think the season is going to mold him in the direction of a super talented player. He just hasn't become the guy yet. Well, it's only his second year. He's got all the talent in the world. We just haven't heard it yet, but I think the season is going to shape him into the player that we've expected. Again, it's still early. It's only his second year.
Well, there's no fear of mental eval here. Like, we call him heavy metal for a reason. Like, he's intense. So it's not even like he's not timid. He's a smart guy. He has an elite speed for the tight end position. So all the tools are here. Is it just, hey, on inside zone, I need to cross?
Well, I mean,
it's that stuff.
Yeah, I think I said it in this article or said another article. Nobody has more on their mental plate than tight ends. They've got to know the run game. They've got to know the passing game. And not just, you have to know the skill required to block it either way. And then you have to have the knowledge in the playbook and the understanding and hey, they're audibling to me too. The audible isn't just going to the guards and tackles. And then you have to understand leverage as a receiver. Then you have to be physical and block, and not just want to, but you have to have the backside and the leg drive and all that from cultivated in the strength and conditioning program to pull it off. So there's just so much going on for these guys. And Nick has, I think he's the Vitruvian man for the position. It's just going to take a little bit more time. He needs time under tension. We talk about it all the time. The big issue last year was lack of experience, not talent. And Nick has the talent. He just doesn't have a ton of experience yet. But that's why I think a little's going to go a long way this season.
Yeah. Then he had LASIK surgery not too long ago, right? So now you can see after on the field. I guess he was a year too late than everybody else who had it 2 summers ago or 2 springs ago. But now he has LASIK surgery, so now he can see on the field. But I think it's just about learning the position. Tight end is hard, man. You got to understand blocking schemes the whole night. It's tougher than most people think. You think you just go out there and be a brute. You see Travis Kelce, see all these other guys on Sundays making plays off Ja'Tavion Sanders. Like, it takes time to become a good tight end, right? But he has all the tools to be that. So I believe in he has the work to be it.
Ja'Tavion had 3 years at Texas and never got close to being well-rounded because of the blocking piece.
Yeah.
The tight end, I think tight end is a tough position. Obviously, tight end's a tough position to draft because you see a lot of guys that are drafted in the mid and later rounds become studs in the NFL. A lot of guys that were low 3 stars become studs in college. It's, Iowa made a living off of those guys. Missouri did for a while. Stanford did as well. So, there's so much variance in it. It's almost like offensive linemen, and, you don't know what these guys can become. Now, what I loved about Nick was I knew that mental side, and that mental side guarantees success long-term when you package it with such an elite athlete. So it's not if, it's when with Townsend. Hopefully it's at some point this season, because that could be a huge piece going into the playoffs. If he becomes a guy that's not just being schemed open, for Sark, that's like, all right, the defense is overplaying here. This guy's going to be wide ass open and he's going to maximize open space. Or if you get him on matchups, that's what they did with Ja'Tavion Sanders, and he absolutely crushed people in that regard. So I'm excited to see what he becomes. I'm hoping that I'm not a year early on it. Again, I think I'm probably tempering it because I was a little early on Ryan Wingo, and I've been early on some other guys. I was early on Vernon Broughton, like we talked about. It's just I know these guys really well, and I can see what they're going to be, but sometimes it's hard to see when they're going to be it.
Yeah, and Sark is not easy on that position. Quentin, you're back, dude. Almost football season. He's back. He was in the off season. He said, let's go. In the meantime, I won the Natty. Congratulations, man. CFB 27, 54-27 against Tech. Wow, Tech made it to the Natty, huh?
They actually scored in the playoffs then. Okay.
Not good. Quentin, are you going to get another W this football season on your coaching too? Your real-life coaching of the young ones? Glad you're back around, Quentin. He's one of the most entertaining people we could have in the chat. All right, Melvin Siani, player that I like, had a little bit of an adjustment period and has since adjusted. I think anyone would have that adjustment period versus these edges. But if you can have lockdown on both sides, that helps for a national championship, I would think, Eric.
Yeah, I mean, if you need help everywhere on the offensive line, it's harder to give it. But if you need it, let's say you need it more focused in the interior, and you're perfectly fine on the outside, that makes life a lot easier for our offensive coordinator. They were just really young last year at the tackles. Gooseby and Baker, they had 2 combined starts between them entering last year, and that was because of injury the year before. Here they have a lot of experience, and Siani, I think, is on a really interesting growth curve. He started his career at Temple, showed some signs. I'm sure Temple fans were like, "Who is this guy? He sucks." And then 2 years later, they were crying that he left. And then, he showed improvement moving over to the ACC, and not a perfect player by any stretch, but trending in the right direction to becoming a guy. I mean, if you were down on Christian Jones like we talked about, you should love Melvin Siani based on where he is in his development. He's much further ahead than when we first started Christian Jones playing, or even when Christian Jones was in his second year. So bookend tackles makes life a lot easier. I think he's also got the ability to be a good run blocker. Somebody asked me, or mentioned on the board, can he be better than Cam Williams the 1 year that Cam? Yes, absolutely. He's going to be better than Cam Williams that 1 year he started, just by not having as many penalties. But yes, he's much further along in his development than Cam. He's just not the physical freak Cam is, but that doesn't mean that he's pedestrian over there either. Just a huge upgrade overall, because again, you were able to move Baker inside too, which I think is going to be maybe not an upgrade over DJ Campbell, but it's going to mitigate the loss of DJ Campbell. Maybe it can even out. And then, again, I mentioned here that him and Gooseby could be the top tackle tandem in the country. Texas could have the top edge tandem in the country. Texas could have the top, or maybe one of the top running back tandems in the country. I mean, they're training for a lot of good tandems this season. Top wide receiver tandem.
I was going to say wide receiver too. And he has good feet, man. Like on any of those outside runs, sweeps, when I was breaking him down months ago, sweeps were really good, outside zone, all that kind of stuff. So really quick feet. So maybe not just like a mauler in the vertical run game, but has the athleticism to get outside and work.
I think we got so many weapons to help these guys out. You don't have to block for 5 or 6 seconds. Like, your running back can make a cut off of you and, take it to the house with the running backs we got now. So, like, the athletes around them, the quick throws and everything like that, you don't have to block as long. So the only thing we have to worry about the holding penalties and different things like that we had to worry about in the past with guys, because guys couldn't find the holes, or if they did find a hole, they're going down on contact. So I think it's going to help out. Everybody on the team is going to help out everybody.
All right. Can't believe we're only a few weeks away from fall camp starting.
Yeah.
I know, man. I'm excited. And it's great for videos, man. I cannot wait to talk about actual football occurring. All right. Final piece here. Is this final piece number 6? Cornerback Cade Phillips came on late in the season last year. I'm looking for him to take that step and lock down across from Bo Masco, who we're also excited about.
Yeah, you just want him to expedite the development. He's still young. Very promising that he passed Jalen Gilbo last year. It's promising that he also held off a spirited Kobe Black, who's got a year on him in the program. This season, they felt comfortable enough with Cade that they moved Kobe to safety. Just all the talent in the world. To me, he's the most talented guy in that room as far as projecting to the NFL. Some might say Warren Roberson is physically as talented. But I think Cade, I think takes the game seriously, almost like a safety watching tape. He has that mindset. This kid had offers to Stanford. Stanford was in the mix there for a time. Right. You like that as well. It's just, time under tension again. The reps early in the season, maybe in week 2, are going to go a long way towards making him a better player later in the season. I really like the trend line for him. But he's got to grow up quick, because you can't have the upside is there if he lives up to his potential early, because if he can become an island corner on the other side of Bo Masco, who we know at minimum is going to be solid. We think he's going to be better than solid, but at minimum is going to be solid. If Cade can grow into who he's going to be and look like a 3-year player, which I think he is, it's going to make life a whole lot easier for Will Muschamp.
Yeah, he's going to be forged in fire, because it's like normally you would get a a nice ramp up process. That doesn't exist. Like you're going to have to play early, and then SEC play starts sooner because you don't get that fourth non-con. So it's there's not a lot of room to ramp up. You're going to have to. It's going to be a baptism by fire. Coach, anything on Cade?
You saw him get thrown in the game versus Georgia and other teams last year. Like he was right. He was sticky in coverage as a freshman, just getting thrown out there. So I think his confidence has gotten even built even more. I think you're going to see like Cade Phillips become that household name. I always love guys who can be phenomenal receivers playing DB, right? They just got a different mindset, different kind of skill set. And so, man, Phillips going to be, I think he may lead the room in the interceptions. I think he's a special player. He has all the tools and one of those long athletic corners, man, that NFL loves and covers. And so I think he's going to become a household name this year.
And he's not a very talkative guy, right? So you have the corner factor there too. I can't remember. Was it his interviews that he's not super talkative?
No, he's not. And he's got the famous pictures of this mean mug on him. Straight face and all that. Yeah. But then if you talk to him off the side, he's smiling and laughing and more talkative. Yeah. And then, you put the microphone in front of him, he's like, very short, and you take a picture of him and it's just the smile's gone away. He's a nice, I enjoy talking to him. He's a good dude. Just, he's a football player, man.
That's going to be one of the most annoying, not even Cade, but just in general, whenever you're trying to get your quotes and they're giving you nothing, man. You're just trying to, here's an extra sentence and three.
Yeah, quotes are great to give to fans, but they don't mean much. I love them to give me my opinion. What should my opinion be on your recruitment? Yeah. And they'll do that off camera more than they will. I just want my informed opinion so I can relay that. Quotes, depending on where you are in the cycle, quotes can be meaningless. They have a lot more value early in the cycle. So when a 2028 guy says something now before he's been coached and all this stuff, it means a lot more. But Cade was very open about, what he liked about Texas, what he liked about LSU. We had a feeling he was going to commit and flip to LSU. So it was like, oh man.
Yeah.
That was a fun one. And then Texas.
Yeah, it's a great point. If you can get them as like sophomores, you can really figure out what they think. But they get media trained, and then you get all your stock quotes. They showed me where I fit into the defense. They're really building something.
Yeah, it's very important to get quotes on stuff before you need it. Let's say Sark left after this year. I won't get anything if the day after he leaves. I better have some information well in advance when people don't even think it's realistic of having. I'm just using that as an example. You got to get the information early on, then you've got to file it away and remember it.
Well, also it changes, right? So like if Sark leaving is not a great example because that gets the fans fired up. But say if you were to ask them now versus when Sark leaves, it'll be negative no matter what when Sark leaves. So they'll be like, yep, he sucks and he's got to go, So it's like the event changes what they would say in a quote anyways, because no one's like, we lost our leader. What will we do without him? No one does that.
Right.
So, you get a bunch of nonsense post-event on a lot of that stuff. All right, before we keep going, we got a lot of cool recruiting stuff to talk, but let's hear a word from Andre the Lawyer.
Texans know when you're injured, there's one name that gets results, Andre the Lawyer. Trust the team that has secured millions for their clients and helped thousands of Texans win their injury cases. Car wrecks, slip and falls, 18-wheeler accidents, on-the-job injuries, wrongful deaths. Don't let the insurance companies tell you what your claim is worth. Andre the Lawyer will fight for you. His principal office is in Dallas, but they serve Texans throughout the state. So don't wait. Call 214-444-8808. That's 214-444-8808. Contact info is in the description.
Fans are really focused on the 2 5-star receivers and what that means going forward. We'll talk about one of them first here, and that would be Cade Phillips. So I don't care about that. I care about this. Monson Sales is first up, gentlemen. What intel do we have? He has announced a date.
What article is this from?
This is from one of your better works here called Texas Longhorns Recruits Justin.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Okay. Yeah. I edited that and added some to it. All right. He's announcing Friday. Charlie has had exceptional information on this recruitment. And I've had good information, not exceptional information on it. And I'm glad we are in such limbo on this one, because if I was only hearing stuff from the Texas side and I didn't have Charlie getting such good information, I would think Texas is going to get him on Friday because there is confidence on the UT side.
Yeah.
But it is such a convoluted recruitment, given the nature of his abrupt move from Alabama to Indianapolis, the bonds he's made since they made that move. As Charlie was saying offline, I think I wrote it somewhere that
Right.
head versus heart sort of decision. And people are like, hey, you've talked so good about his character. If he makes a decision on Friday, well, won't that be it? Well, I mean, I think he wants to make the decision to quiet the madness, not necessarily end it permanently. Just let some of those schools back off, focus on the season, and kind of pick this up, kick the can down the road, so to speak. I think that's what he's looking to do. It's going to be Texas or Indiana. I just don't know which way his head or heart are leaning at the time. And then because those factors are still in play, right? If he goes with his heart now, he could lean towards his head later. And if he goes with his head now, he could lean towards his heart later. So we're going to be watching this one for a while. What we do know is Texas has a good relationship here.
Yes.
I wrote an article late last night about how the coaches have done in recruiting this cycle. I graded them. And Chris Jackson, whether he gets Moncha sales or not, he's done an exceptional job in this recruitment because Moncha, he has Texas right here primed to win it. Due to that relationship, the trust, and the feeling that he's a great fit for the program. Chris does a really good job of finding guys that he can connect with and build a really good relationship with. The stronger that bond is, the easier it is to recruit them. Jackson has been nails at that in his time at Texas.
Yeah, it's imagine 5 years ago we'd be in a recruiting battle to Indiana. Indiana's starting to swim in the deep end now, which is a totally different style that they're used to.
Well, they also caught amazing luck in the fact that his family moved to Indiana. He's from Alabama, right? So this isn't just Signetti moving into Indiana. 5 years ago, they wouldn't have Signetti there or Moncha sales, so there would be no reason to talk about Indiana. They've got some luck on their side.
But being from Alabama, it is a statement that Texas is even in this at all. So it's like history in Alabama. He has a bunch of friends and family there, right? And then Indianapolis, near Signetti. So the fact that Texas is in this is unique in the first place, in my opinion.
Well, surprising, even though some of those family and friends in Alabama, they're Texas Longhorn fans, right? They're not screaming Roll Tide. So
good.
Texas has their flag kind of planted in a bunch of different places within this recruitment. But also, you got some recruitment on the team in KJ Lacey, who he's known since, Pee Wee football, right? So you got a lot of different – Texas holds a lot of different cards in the recruitment. But Eric kind of summed it up best, like head versus heart, man. And it can kind of go either way.
Yeah.
We have it as a 50-50. Some insiders on our board. We actually do have a couple insiders. We normally run off all the fake insiders, so there's not nearly as much on IT as there are other places. The actual real insiders on the board have some confidence, but it's like 55-60. It's not a slam dunk. I'm at 50-50, and then I'm not sure how much it matters. The season is probably going to dictate where this one's going to go, or just more time for him to realize it. But Texas has some things in its factor. Indiana has some things in its factor. What Texas has, Indiana can't compete with, and what Indiana has, Texas can't compete with. You don't. Yeah. So it's an interesting recruitment, and then on top of it, there's a lot on this kid's shoulders. He's sort of the man of the house at a very young age with all this decision. He's in a very tough spot now. He's in a can't lose situation with these two schools, so that's good. It's not it's going to be one is better than the other eventually, but it's not like it's going to be a bad decision either way. So we'll be interested to see how it plays out on Friday, but I'll be much more interested to see how it plays out by December.
And then we have another recruit down here in Easton Royal who also stretched out. He is a commit to us, right? Like we did a video, so I'm just like, how we talk about him is so confusing because it's just like he's committed to Texas, but there's a lot going back and forth with Louisiana, LSU, and then just stay off of Twitter with all that stuff, man. They're pointing out that he has LSU gloves, and then he's pointing out that he's wearing Texas cleats. So it's a little bit of pandemonium with him, but what's the actual reality of this, Coach?
Well, I have this one on hold for about 16 days. I'm not really paying too close attention to it outside of, unless something drastic changes in the next few weeks, which I don't think will. I wrote in that same article, who Chris Jackson has committed and who he's still working on, and Easton Royal fit both those categories to the point you just made. Justin points out here that David Mulugheta is his agent, which is good in the fact that, it's not good because he went to Texas, blah, blah, blah.
It doesn't matter. He's a professional.
It's good because Mulugheta has and Texas have great familiarity with each other. He just represented Cam Coleman. So Mulugeta knows full well what the sell of what Texas can actually deliver, not the idea or theory of what Texas can deliver. So that's good. But LSU is extremely committed. Who knows what lengths they'll go to land Royal. It's definitely one that if it's possible of happening, they'll find a way to make it happen at LSU. But as Easton has maintained behind the scenes, it's not about money. It's going to be there either way. It's going to be where does he feel like being. I do feel like, Kyron Brown got a big rankings bump. Speaking of wide receivers, I'm excited to see where they moved him up to. The tape's awesome, and he ran like a 4.43. So Royal, it's going to be, hey, where does he want to be? Now, it's not. I think there are people in his camp that want him at Texas, and that's a good sign. But his birthday is July 29th, and I'll see if he makes some bold proclamation on that date.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're all
he's from Louisiana, so that's a factor. LSU is good at putting on the pressure. We just had a flip from greedy to us to them, and then who else was up there recently? Brewster, right, at Tech. So they're trying to get all the big names together like Texas does too. So they're putting it on heavy.
Yeah, definitely. Everybody pays attention to social media. He'll post a picture of Lane, then he'll post a picture of Sark. It's not like he's like got the biggest troll job, or it's kind of like he just wants to play it up on the internet. But either way, it's somebody you want to keep in the class because he's so talented. But man, like Eric said, let's wait to the 29th.
Hey, they just got to get one of them. And I wrote in another article that there is a possibility, not to say probability, but possibility that by the start of fall camp, your only two commits are Bryson Thrower and Kyron Brown. But that doesn't mean it'll end up that way. There's still launch on sales. But we'll see, man. We'll see. This one it's another tough recruitment to cover. Every recruitment that LSU is firmly in, it's tough to cover, man.
Yep. They have unique ways of getting players. And I don't even mean that in like they're doing sneaky stuff. LSU's a different thing with that. And then you guys want to talk too about another wide receiver in Peyton Smith. What do we know about old Peyton Smith?
Oh, well, he's 2028. That's
not for this class. Not for this class.
Yeah, him and Jalen Herndon are 2028s. Justin mentioned Jalen Herndon from Longview, and this class looks like Jalen Hale. He does. That kid could be from El Paso, and I would have said that kid looks like he's like Jalen Hale.
I watched that little tape that he had here, and that was my first. Before even reading Jalen Hale, I was like, "That's Jalen Hale."
Yeah.
Which was also a devastating one for the Texas fans. You remember how they were bummed when Jalen Hale went to.
That was. But so that's where the context really matters. Texas backed out of that negotiation, so that that tells you that they felt they could live without him. So Jaden, very similar to Jalen, very good prospect. Kyron Brown got jumped to 205 overall, so that is a big jump. He was way on the outskirts, kind of like how he lives on the outskirts up there in Amarillo. He was on the outskirts, but now it's at 205. We'll take that. That might help the class a little bit. Jaden, very good prospect. Looks like Jalen, but there's going to be a group of guys that they're going to be selecting from, like they did this last class, where, all right, they're going to look for the elite of the elite, probably, right? Maybe if they get both Royal and Sales somehow, then they'll have to take a back seat this next class, or maybe save some for the portal, depending how the following season shapes up. But there's going to be a bunch of guys in competition for the same spot, like we saw this past year, which Bryson Thrower emerged from a group of about 4 or 5 guys. Jaden Herndon's going to be in a group with Peyton Smith from LaPorte. I really, really, really like Peyton Smith. This is even before his profile rose and he started getting invited everywhere. We've got a guy down in LaPorte that I've known since Terrell Bernard came out of there, and he was saying Texas was crazy for not going after Terrell Bernard, and I agreed. Terrell Bernard's tape was awesome. He went to Baylor, had a great career. He's in Buffalo. He's a dynamic player when he's healthy. So my guy down there in LaPorte was telling me all about Sean Simon, the running back. Sean Simon, very likely he's going to end up at A&M, not for certain there. Texas isn't on him very hard, but his teammate is Peyton Smith, a little bit behind him as far as notoriety, but quickly climbing the charts. I think he's going to emerge like Bryson Thrower did as one of the obvious guys in the class that they want. Herndon's awesome, don't get me wrong. My gut feeling is that it's probably going to be Peyton Smith emerges as a true. I'll take both of them. If they both want in, we'll make room for them. I like them both, but I tend to think that Peyton's going to get the full court press from Texas.
Yeah.
All right. And then we'll close on Kyle Flood's work in
There
recruiting.
you go.
So this is a bigger piece where Eric names every coach and who they have. So you can go read that over on Inside Texas. But Coach Flood gets a lot of heat from the chat. He's gotten a lot of heat from me. But we need to do some credit where it's due here as far as recruiting. He's basically closed out his class, and he's gotten some real players in here too. So credit where it's due to Coach Flood. What were your major thoughts here, Eric?
Well, I give them an A+ here because you have to understand the realities of recruiting. They're not going to get 5 guys in the top 50. I love the process here. He had a good big board. He's often had a good big board to start. I don't think he's always been great showing makeup speed, foot quickness to make up for what's happening on the ground. But this year he had a great big board. Identified Ishmael Kamara as the guy they want. Down further, I mentioned that was a decision that reminded me of going after Kelvin Banks over Cam Dewberry back in 2022. Mm-hmm. They let A&M have Kennedy Brown. I like that decision, actually. Brian Swanson, they treated Brian Swanson almost like an OT1, maybe OT1 and a half. SMU was treating him like an OT1, which forced Texas to get even more aggressive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But what I really like is the money bag guys, which, I'm not saying that they were trying to hold Texas ransom or anything, but they cost a lot. Kamara and Swanson, you can get those guys if you're frugal elsewhere or savvy elsewhere. Maybe not to say that Texas was cheap, but I got excited about Jackson Cook and Keon Hemphill Woods because the tape is there, and also they didn't have the highest profile, so they didn't cost a whole lot. That allows you to repurpose money and make sure you don't lose the guys that you absolutely have to have. I love Hemphill Woods, what he brings to the table, and Jackson Cook. You can find a center and a guard in the portal much easier than you can find a top tackle, which I think, Brian Swanson, I think, can be a fantastic right tackle. Ishmael Kamara can be – we've already talked about what he can be. He can be absolutely elite. And then Lucas Roa is kind of the guy that tied it all together because they did need another guard. I know there was a lot of talk about Reed Ramsey. Lucas Roa was my guy that I hoped that ended up in the class, and they got him. So this is the perfect 5 to me. That is obviously goes left to right: Ishmael Kamara, Lucas Roa, Jackson Cook, Keon Hemphill Woods, and then Brian Swanson. It fits together seamlessly. I love the class. And, Kyle Flood, Kamara was an institutional recruitment, meaning that it went well beyond Kyle Flood's recruiting. It wasn't just him having talking about fishing or whatever. It wasn't him, just having a good relationship. But he did check the box for Kamara. And then I think he was the key with Lucas Roa. And so, you like hearing that. Lucas Roa was a tough recruitment. Wasn't rated the highest, but that doesn't mean anything. Penn State was all over him. UCLA was all over him. Oregon was all over him. Kyle Flood has had a fantastic cycle, and I'm not sure it's over yet. Maybe they try to find a late swing tackle to really finish off the class.
Yeah, that's a good 5. The Lucas Roa, the more I watched his tape, I was like, it doesn't hurt so much missing on somebody like a John Mills because Roa can just block people out of the frame. I mean, he just mauls kids out of the way. Like you said, with Keon Hemphill Woods, I think he's super athletic. I think he's a guy you put a left guard, you're going to use him in front of screens. He's going to pull and knock people out, kick out the end. Then you get your 2 NFL tackles on the outside. It really doesn't matter what you do so much on the inside, especially combined with what's already on the roster with your Colemans, Jackson Christian. So you got some pieces already there. Another guy, not talking about Nicholas Robinson. Now he's on campus. I think he's going to surprise a lot of people and earn his way to playing time. Maybe not as a freshman, but the next year. So you got a lot of pieces to work with while these young guys develop. I mean, I think you got your 2 bookends at left and right tackle for the future, and so offensive line looks good.
Good job. That's good not to stress about 5-star tackles down the line. I'm sure Kamara feels nice too to be able to breathe. Kamara didn't have to just deal with American national media. He has to deal with French national media on top of it for interviews and stuff like that. So I'm sure that was stressful for him. I'm glad he was able to get that done, and he's with the Longhorns.
Yeah, at least, the French are kind of preoccupied with the World Cup. Let's see here. The new rankings came out. Kamara's going to be preoccupied with this ranking. He's probably working out right now looking that Rivals has him at 33.
Come
which
on.
is 33 is like the worst thing you could possibly be ranked because it's
Because it's right there at the 32 mark.
yeah, 32 is where they're 5 stars, and then he's 33, which all righty, man. Let's see here. We got Easton Royal at 3, Sales at 7, and John Meredith at 8. So that's the 5-star combo right now. I
Yeah,
guess
they dropped Meredith from number 1 to I think the number 3 corner now. They got Dobson, and then some Miami commit is number 1 cornerback now. Like how that happened, but okay.
Are the rankings on a set schedule? Are they like we update them in July and then October? Does it work like that?
They have a set internal schedule,
Yeah.
you know, that they follow. I don't know if they usually do a summer re-rankings, and then they'll rank them again in the season. And I don't know, will they do an August one before the season? Who knows, man? I don't know.
And then you just pick whichever cycle or period of time had them highest rated, and then that's where fans go. Wonderful. All right. Any final thoughts, gentlemen, on anything fall camp coming up? Any stuff there, Eric?
No, we still have some hurdles to get over. You know, media days are next week. This is the last Monday I'll be with this background.
Yeah.
It's going to be go time back in Texas. Looking forward to it. No, it's going to be, media days are coming. Sark has another speaking engagement before media days in Texas. We'll have that covered. Just getting closer, man. Inching closer.
Yeah. I'm excited.
Lane and Sark on the same day at media day. I don't know. I think it's gonna be
Oh
fun.
yeah, that's
be fun.
That's absolutely wonderful. They're like the same. They're like evil twin brothers. Like Sark went with the more like buttoned up approach, and then Lane went with the more kind of wild. They have such a unique. Like if I did a documentary, you would have to intertwine those two throughout. And then what was it last year? Sark was throwing shots at Lane about not knowing what he's talking about because he hasn't been in the play. They have a weird relationship, friendly, but it's like kind of brotherly.
Yeah, I'm not sure they're friends anymore. It's kind of like, he's friends with Kirby Smart, and then Kirby Smart,
Yeah, but their history is just totally different.
Yeah, and I'm just saying, I don't believe coaches are as good friends as they say they are.
Oh, I think Kirby's keeping tabs. I think Kirby's keeping enemies closer with Sark. I don't enjoy that at all whenever they talk about that. Also, it's a little bit mean, like you keep beating them and then you're just like, hey, buddy, how you doing? I think there's psychological warfare occurring there.
Yep.
All right. Flash sale, join for $1, then 50% off your first year. So you'll be able to be part of the football season with us. Everybody. New members only. Link in the description down below. Everyone stay tuned in. The show's coming at you today. See y'all later.